Stay tuned for the Sean Casey Show, a podcast for patriots. To the Sean Casey Show, a podcast for patriots. We are the Resistance. This is where we meet each and every episode. I'm Sean Casey. Our executive producer is Joe Hosny Armacost.
That's right. Once you hear it, we're hard to resist.
And our associate producer and researcher is Double X, Michelle Drusella. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, guys. I want to say a shout out to my daughter who turned 30 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
To the big 3-0. All right.
I'm sure she's going to appreciate you telling everybody that, too.
Well, you don't mind when you're 30, but after that, it's a little dicey after that, I'm sure. All right, this is where we are gathered together. We got a big show planned for you here today. Again, in about, 8 days from now, Title 42 will end. We have a horde, a swarm of invaders on our southern border. So we're going to take a look at that story here. And again, as a country, if you can't maintain your borders, if you don't have a common language, and if you can't maintain the culture that has made America exceptional, there goes the country. And we're going to basically include a lot of these elements in today's show for you: border, language, culture, so you get an idea of what we're talking about here today. But before we really get started, we usually have a Founding Fathers quote, which I know I did pull, and it's probably located somewhere on my sheet. But I did want to talk about, before we get to the Founding Fathers quote, I wanted to mention that there apparently was an alleged assassination attempt on Vladimir Putin.
Oh, no.
Here it is, Joe. I know you're making fun of me. Okay? I just had it in the wrong order. First off, I'm not buying it. Are you buying that they tried to nail Putin?
Bullshit. Not with that little thing.
Oh, my God. The little smoke over the Kremlin. all these headlines. Assassination attempt. Putin may be done. Folks, it's false flag. First off, they don't use bombs like that. They just poison you. These are the Russians or the KGB or SVR. They use poison or they use radiation. One of the two. They're not using heavy-duty explosives to try to take out Vladimir Putin. So I'm not buying, and neither should you. All right. Our Founding Fathers quote does have to do with immigrants, foreigners, and resident and illegal aliens. And Ben Franklin once said that the importation of foreigners into a country that has as many inhabitants as the present employments and provisions for subsistence will bear will be, in the end, no increase of people unless the newcomers have more industry and frugality than the natives. And then they will provide more subsistence and increase in the country. But, he said, they will gradually eat the natives out. Nor is it necessary to bring in foreigners to fill up an occasional vacancy in a country for such vacancy, which will soon be filled by natural generation. And that was in 1751 when he said that. And so he's basically talking about here, if you're going to bring somebody in, it's got to be on merit. They're going to have to bring something into the country that's going to make the country better, that's going to, increase the population, that's going to increase the productivity. If you're bringing people in, they're not going to do that. They're going to what? Eat the natives out, meaning they're going to take our jobs. They're going to eat us out of house and home. And there's just going to not be enough subsistence for the foreigners and or the illegals. That's Ben Franklin in 1751, recognizing that we got to have a border. And if we don't have a border, then we don't have a country. If we don't have an ability, look, we are a welcoming nation. We like refugees. We want to welcome political refugees. We're all basically decided. I'm half Irish, half Polish. And again, I think we have German here. We have Italian. We have English and Scottish. And so we're from all different kinds of backgrounds.
That's me, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that, our ancestors, not my parents, but my grandparents were born here, but perhaps their grandparents were not. So we all came, and you want to come legally. You want to come through the front door, not the back door. And that's what this is all about. So again, in about 8 days, Title 42 is going to expire. What is Title 42? Basically, it's a section of the immigration law that says the president of the United States executive branch can basically, on citing a public health threat, in this particular case, it was COVID, but it can be anything. If the president thinks there's a threat to the public health from disease or pandemic or anything else, he can shut the borders down or tighten or restrict immigration significantly, which is exactly what Trump did. It was brilliant to use Title 42. And then he negotiated remain in Mexico with the Mexican president, saying basically, if you didn't put Mexican police or the Mexican guardsmen on your southern border and prevent people from coming into your country while we were doing remain in Mexico, he was going to charge every single truck, every car, like quadruple tariffs or something. And I think it was all of about 30 seconds before the Mexican ambassador went to his president, talked to his president. His president then said to Trump, okay, we'll do it. All right.
Yeah.
So that's leadership.
Yep.
Okay. Remain in Mexico, build the wall, Title 42. We're getting none of that with the Biden regime because they want open, unsecure borders because it contributes to the overall chaos and cloud-driven strategy of collapsing the system. They want to take down capitalism. They want to take down our free markets. This is contributing to the overall danger in our cities. So this lack of respect for our immigration laws, lack of respect for our borders is not good, to say the least. And so tens of thousands of illegal aliens are amassing at our southern border, and they're getting ready to cross as of May the 11th because Title 42 expires. And they know it. They've been told it. That's why they're there. They're just waiting because they know they can just overwhelm the system. Now, the troops have been deployed or will be deployed, but that's just nothing more than a bone to some of the rhinos and to some on the left. When you're sending 1,500 troops to handle tens of thousands of invaders, sorry, the numbers aren't in your favor. Okay, we'll get to what the role of the troops will be in just a second. But Karine Jean-Pierre, the female version of Baghdad Bob, she is a serial liar. I think she's the worst press secretary I have ever seen in all the years I've been covering the White House. I used to employ one. Les Consalving was a former colleague of ours. He has since passed away. He would put on a red jacket at the White House press corps so that he would get noticed and he would be called on. And Les, God love him, may he rest in peace, he used to ask questions nobody else would ask. I mean, nobody on this planet would ask. And
they would go to Les, but they were always weary.
Yeah.
What's coming out of that mouth?
What's this guy going to ask now? Yeah. But anyway, Marlon Fitzwater, he had a great time he was the Reagan press secretary at the time. But, the point being is that there have been, whether they be Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative, I don't think Jen Psaki was especially good, but she was competent. She was smart.
Right.
She spread a lot of propaganda, like McCurry at the White House under in the Clinton years, along with, I can't remember her last name, Didi. But there were others that were pretty good. They were competent. Karine Jean-Pierre is incompetent. She is a babbling fool and a serial liar. And here's what she said about the Biden regime immigration program and how they claim they've cut it. Once again, here's Karine Jean-Pierre.
He has tools that he's used to make sure that we do this. We actually deal with the immigration system in a humane way, and in a way that is that actually deals with what we're seeing at the border. And that's why you've seen the parolee program be so successful. It has when it comes to illegal migration, you've seen it come down by more than 90%, and that's because of the actions that the president has taken.
90%?
90%. Maybe
90%?
Maybe 90% legal immigration.
Yeah, that's the tool the president's using right there.
What she's talking about is a parolee program that they have. It applies only to Venezuela. And and you can check the data. She's probably on target with that, but that doesn't. She's applying
to
that
it
the
all.
overall immigration numbers are down 90%.
Exactly.
That is a lie. That is a disingenuous lie. It really is.
Misinformation.
The fact is, we're now, I think, around 6 million. When you factor in gotaways, 1 million in 2 years. I'm sorry, that's 7 million in 2 years. And if it's allowed to be unabated, as we expect next week on May the 11th, then by the end of the Biden term, we might see anywhere from 13 to 15 million illegals in one term. Think about that. You're invading. Imagine if there were 5 million Chinese military,
Yeah.
or Russian or Iranian or anything else on our southern border. How do you think we would act? You think we would send 1,500 troops there on our southern border? But that's exactly how many are going. 1,500 to handle tens of thousands of illegal aliens. And what will they do?
We don't even know.
Well, we do know. We do know now because Corinne Jean-Pierre is going to tell us, Joe.
These personnel will be performing administrative tasks like data entry and warehouse support. They will not be performing law enforcement functions or interacting with immigrants or migrants. This will free up Border Patrol agents to perform their critical law enforcement duties.
So there you have it.
Which they're not allowed to do.
They're going to be paper pushers. They're going to do administrative duty so the Border Patrol can do the law enforcement. That's a posse comitatus thing. You can only call in the Guard or the reservists. The governors of states can call them in, presidents, and usually done to quell riots, to restore order. Or they could defend our southern border from invasion. But then you'd put them on there with tanks and barbed wire. And, again, believe me, the Biden regime doesn't want to do that. They just want to say, oh, yeah, we sent some troops. We sent some troops to help down there. Again, we're getting ready for a mass invasion event in the tens of thousands, and 1,500 troops are being sent there. And we talk about these incidents not having a border, which is ruining our country. You might have seen over the weekend the illegal alien that had been deported 5 times in the Obama administration, got back into the country, and over the weekend shot and killed 5 people in the Houston, Texas area. They then went on a manhunt, okay? They just arrested him last night. So this would happen, Saturday? So you're looking at, at least 4 or 5 days where this guy was at large with a semi-automatic firearm or weapon. And the biggest concern of the left is the gun. Not the fact that he's illegal, not the fact that he was deported 5 times, not the fact that they're against allowing us to defend ourselves when law enforcement couldn't find him. Eventually they did. It was a tip called into the FBI tip line on this illegal alien. And in fact, the sheriff, San Jacinto County Sheriff Greg Capers, said, this is where they found the coward.
He was caught hiding in a closet underneath some laundry. They effectively made the arrest. He is uninjured, and he is currently being taken to my facility in Cold Springs.
Yeah. Brave dude, huh? Hiding under laundry in a closet.
Are they just going to deport him again?
No, I think this time, because he killed 5, people on U.S. soil, I think he's going to
I hope.
Hopefully face. In Texas, they have the death penalty.
Oh, you're right.
So, and, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Texas. Of course, they're getting a lot of heat right now in Texas. And guess what? They're crying. Of course, remember Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And I understand it is a political maneuver. And it is something that I didn't necessarily, I thought it was funny that they sent illegals to Martha's Vineyard or they sent it to Kamala Harris's just to draw attention to the problem. But it's not an answer. It's not a solution. What they should have done, if I was a Texas governor, I'd have rounded up as many illegal aliens as I could. I would then take them to the nearest airport. I would have flown them back into Mexico, and I would charge the federal government the expense. Since they're refusing to do their job, we'll do it for you, and we'll just charge you the expense. And then if they wouldn't pay, you sue them. You take them to the Supreme Court, and that would have been fun. But apparently Greg Abbott didn't think of that. But meanwhile, Chicago's outgoing mayor, Lori Lightner Loafers, demanded that the Greg Abbott stop sending illegals to Chicago. Quote, we are completely tapped out. You can say that again. She is completely tapped out. And then New York City's Eric Adams says that Greg Abbott is targeting black mayors because he's sending illegal aliens to cities where there are black mayors. Well, frankly, most of your major cities are progressive black mayors. But it's not because you're black that the illegal aliens are being sent to your cities and your states. It's because you have pronounced yourselves sanctuary cities.
Yeah, exactly.
Sanctuary states. where you will provide a safe haven or sanctuary to illegal aliens. That's why they're being sent there. So it's just incredible. It really is that you got that going on right now. So he's being called heartless, and this is he's handicapped. He's in a wheelchair, but he's a heartless son of a gun because he's trying to draw attention for them to do their jobs. Here in Maryland, where we broadcast behind enemy lines in the blue state of Maryland, Montgomery County is one of those safe havens for illegals or sanctuary counties. And a woman by the name of Marla Ingram was on with Laura the other night. This happened about 5 or 6 years ago, but it just dredges up these awful memories every time you see like the Texas shootings or Kate Steinle. Remember her? That happened about 7 or 8 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
She was shot with her dad by an illegal alien on a pier in San Francisco.
Right.
And
Right
she
before
bled out
Trump.
in front of her father, right before Trump was in office.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a rallying cry for a while.
Yes.
Until people allow the Democrats and Republicans to forget about the Kate Steinles of the world. Well, Carlos Wolf was Hispanic. He was an FBI agent. His car broke down on I-270 in Montgomery County in the state of Maryland, which is a suburb of D.C. And along comes another law enforcement guy to stop and help him out. He didn't know he was an FBI agent. He was just doing a good deed. And so along comes a drunk illegal alien who should never have been out on the street. And his name was Roberto Palacios. And he plows into both of these law enforcement agents, killing both of them. It should never have been out. The guy had a rap sheet. He had been previously deported. He should have been, ICE had a detainer on him saying that if this guy's arrested, if he comes into your jurisdiction, call us. We'll come, we'll pick him up, we'll take him off your hands. Montgomery County refuses to do that. And by the way, guess who's head of the Capitol Police right now? The former police chief of Montgomery County, Thomas Manger. So that tells you what you're dealing with here. So, but Marla Ingram, she was asked by Laura Ingram, no relation, the other day, as to what she thought about this Title 42 being lifted. They remain in Mexico. All the Trump policies that were being erased by the Biden regime. Here was her response.
It's ludicrous. And we need to see half of the Border Patrol agents, as you know, Laura, are Hispanic. So to try to say that this is a racial issue, my husband was Hispanic, and to try to spin that, the policies have been completely ineffective. We have millions of immigrants coming across the border, as you know, the drugs, the child trafficking, and all of these horrific crimes. And then we have immigrants killing other immigrants. So this is not even what the Hispanic community wants.
Yeah, she's absolutely right about that. And you look at Europe, it's already gone because France has completely been overrun. Italy, and they may still have a chance, but most of the rest of Europe and the European Union have surrendered to mass invasion, mass migration, which will absolutely ruin your country. Again, borders, language, culture. And Marla goes on to say that in Montgomery County, they're the culprits here because otherwise her husband might still be alive.
The sanctuary cities. So Roberto Garza Palacios, he was wanted by ICE 2 times, just 3 months before he killed Carlos and Sandra. 3 months, ICE wanted him for a second time. But because of Montgomery County, Maryland's sanctuary policies, they let him out. They refused to hold them.
Yeah. And look, it's something that this is a problem. There are over 3,000 safe haven sanctuary jurisdictions in America today. Most of them are in blue states like New York, California, Illinois, Maryland, Delaware, and the like. It's the border states, which are largely red, except for California and New Mexico, Texas, of course, and you got Florida. There are these sanctuaries where these folks can go and they're being sent. And, who's trafficking in these are people like Catholic Charities, Lutheran Charities, Associated Jewish Charities, all these faith-based charities who are getting paid big bucks by the government to invade. and to take our jobs and to drive down wages. Because let's face it, when you have let's say 10, 15 million people now competing for jobs, and they'll take a job for a lot less than what it might be paying for. So if the job pays $10 and you can hire an illegal alien for $8, that's what your wage is going to be if you get the same job. So before the invasion, you might have been able to get $10. Well, most of your minimum wage states now are up to around 15. But let's say it's 15. And let's say the illegal alien comes in and does it for 12. Good luck getting the 15 anywhere else. So they're driving down wages. They're taking jobs. We've seen it before. And again, it was so bad back in the 50s that President Eisenhower launched Operation Wetback. I never say that today. And they called them wetbacks because they would swim across the Rio Grande. And when they would emerge, obviously they would have wetbacks, and that's how you knew they were illegal. But Operation Wetback rounded up 1 million. That was back in the 50s. 1 million illegal aliens, and put them on train cars and shipped them back to Mexico. So imagine how many are in the country now. It's got to be excess of 30, 35 million or so. Kamala Harris, I want to play for you what she thinks about troops on our southern border.
The administration made a decision to deploy based on a political agenda, and I believe that it is inappropriate to require the limited resources of the United States military to be used in such a way. These folks who are being deployed there, they're going to leave they've left their families. They will not be home, looks like, for Thanksgiving. And all because there needed to be some demonstration for the TV cameras based on a political agenda instead of what is a national security threat.
You think that's big news, right? That you've got Kamala Harris disagreeing with her very president, Joe Biden, about putting troops on the southern border. Well, the reason why you don't hear that is because that's what she said about Trump.
I was going to say Thanksgiving.
In 2018.
Right.
All right. So that's what but now her administration is doing the very thing she was critical of President Trump for. But at least Trump built the wall. At least Trump invoked Title 42, remain in Mexico. And then on top of that, had the National Guard go down there and help out a bit. So a big difference there as far as the two administrations. So borders, if you don't have borders, and they are being erased, if you can't enforce your immigration laws, which we have a current occupant of the White House, we have Alejandro Mayorkas, and we have Javier Bashara and others that absolutely refuse to enforce the laws, then you have anarchy, then you have chaos. You wipe out your borders. That's number one. Language, you know about the language issue. I don't know about you guys, but have you seen, you get the insurance statements from your claims that you get in the mail?
Yeah.
I happen to have Blue Choice, which is a division of Care First, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Choice, when you open up your statement, there's 20 pages in your statement. Okay, the first page is your claim and how much they paid and how much you owe copay and so on. Then the second page has a few disclaimers. And then the other 19 pages are in about 20 different languages.
Yep.
I kid you not. Languages that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
But there they are. All
You'd think the environmentalists would be going crazy over the waste of
killing
paper.
trees.
Really? Yeah, you're right. That and the ink and everything else. But again, Tower of Babel type stuff. I never believed in the bilingual stuff. Look, if you have, there might be parts of the country where you could argue because of the Spanish population that you would do some bilingual English and Spanish, but we don't have the same kind of thing for the French or the Russians or the French Canadians. Maybe at our northern border we do, but again, to send in 20 different languages from India, Asia. And other parts of the world, it dooms us. We lose our common thread. I think we're all coming from different backgrounds. Some of us do speak multiple languages. I know in my household, I had some people that spoke Gaelic, and I had others that were fluent in Polish. And you learned a little bit of both.
Right.
You know, my grandmother was 100% fluent in Polish. So again, a lot of that was, I think it's beneficial. I know people, Melania Trump speaks 5 different languages.
Yes.
I think it's wonderful. But the thing that unites us is our common language, and that is English. So if you don't have that common language, then you are going to have basically a lot of division. People do not want to come in here and assimilate. They don't want to learn the language. They want to maintain their ethnicity, their cultures, their traditions, and of course, impose that on the rest of us. Which brings us to culture, and right now that is under constant assault by the left. The alphabet mafia. Have you seen what's going on in Texas? I like to call them now Trans-Tifa. It is the combination of trans and Antifa.
Yep.
We've got trans actors now taking over state capitals and making sure that they want to try to impose their trans agenda on the rest of us, which is nasty. Which means in some states that if you don't agree to your 7-year-old child wakes up one day, he might be a biological male, but now he feels like a girl, and now he wants to transition. And if you don't agree to that, they'll come and take your children.
That's their transmission.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's culture. That's the culture war we're seeing right now. We're seeing it in critical race theory in our schools. We're seeing it with drag queen story time, okay, in libraries. We're seeing it with this trans stuff. We're seeing with biological males wanting to compete as women in women's athletics. It's going to erase women's sports opportunities altogether. And look, I think the attempt here is to erase women as well. But I think with some college that now they're no longer referring to woman, W-O-M-E-N. They're now saying women, W-I-M-M-I-N.
Well, what's
Women.
worse is people are backing down against this all over the place. I mean, we have some victories here and there of just keeping normal. But in a lot of these situations, there's no real pushback.
I think
except
universities and schools.
Mothers. We see mothers in school
Right.
school board meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mothers and grandmothers, some fathers. But we're now seeing children. Children are starting to push back.
That's
And
right.
this is I'm going to play for you a 12-year-old. His name is Liam Morrison. Liam Morrison went to his middle school wearing a T-shirt that said there are only two genders. As you might imagine, that caused quite an uproar. And he addressed I think he's in Massachusetts. I think it's Middleborough. He addressed the Middleborough, Massachusetts School Board the other night.
The administration made a decision.
My bad, wrong one, Joe.
I never thought that the shirt I wore to school on March 21st would lead me to speak with you today. On that Tuesday morning, I was taken out of gym class to sit down with two adults for what turned out to be a very uncomfortable talk. I was told that people were complaining about the words on my shirt, that my shirt was making some students feel unsafe. Yes, words on a shirt made people feel unsafe. They told me that I wasn't in trouble, but it sure felt like I was. I was told that I would need to remove my shirt before I could return to class. When I nicely told them that I didn't want to do that, they called my father. Thankfully, my dad supported my decisions and came to pick me up. What did my shirt say? 5 simple words. There are only two genders. Nothing harmful, nothing threatening, just a statement I believe to be a fact. I have been told that my shirt was targeting a protected class. Who is this protected class? Are their feelings more important than my rights? I don't complain when I see pride flags and diversity posters hung throughout the school. Do you know why? Because others have a right to their beliefs just as I do. Not one person, staff, or student told me that they were bothered by what I was wearing. Actually, just the opposite. Several kids told me that they supported my actions and that they wanted one too.
12-year-old. This is and let me tell you something. I believe that this is parenting. I don't believe he's learning this in school.
Oh, no.
I don't believe he's learning about his rights. You'll hear about, he's going to cite his rights here in just a second. I don't think he's learning about the Constitution in school. I think his parents have done an amazing job raising a fine young man at 12 years old. He's got a great head on his shoulders. He's principled. He's not afraid to stand up and be heard. And he does it in a logical, again, nonviolent way, which is how you win over a lot of people in arguments. The left can't, so they just try to beat you over the head. On the right, we have to do it with common sense and logic and appeal to people's better angels. And sometimes that works. But I think in this particular case, Liam Morrison won over a lot of fans with his concluding statement.
I was told that the shirt was a disruption to learning. No one got up and stormed out of class. No one burst into tears. I'm sure I would have noticed if they had. I experience disruptions to my learning every day. Kids acting out in class are a disruption, yet nothing is done. Why do the rules apply to one yet not another? I feel like these adults were telling me that it wasn't okay for me to have an opposing view. Their arguments were weak, in my opinion. I didn't go to school that day to hurt feelings or cause trouble. I have learned a lot from this experience. I learned that a lot of other students share my view. I learned that adults don't always do the right thing or make the right decisions. I know that I have a right to wear a shirt with those 5 words. Even at 12 years old, I have my own political opinions, and I have a right to express those opinions. Even at school, this right is called the First Amendment to the Constitution. My hope in being here tonight is to bring the school committee's attention to this issue. I hope that you will speak up for the rest of us so we can express ourselves without being pulled out of class. Next time, it may not only be me. There might be more students that decide to speak out. Thank you for your time and good night.
Good night and farewell, amen. Way to go.
Yeah.
That is Liam Morrison, 12-year-old of Massachusetts, and you wish there were just more children like him. And look, you can be on the other side of that argument if you want. As he pointed out, he sees pride flags. He sees all sorts of LGBTQ alphabet mafia nonsense in schools. He says, okay, that's their opinion. They have a right to that opinion. And I don't agree with it, but they have a right to it.
Yeah.
But what they've been trying to do, our government, our education system, the media, they have been trying to silence dissent. They have tried to make sure that anybody that does not agree with their groupthink is not allowed to be heard, whether it's Tucker Carlson, who was canned at Fox, or whether the rest of us who are deplatformed and censored by the government and by private social media kingpins. So I want to give him, again, he's going to be our Patriot of the Week. I thought I wanted to share that with you today in that particular case. All right, and we talk about culture, border, language, culture. Our military culture is important. Our United States military is meant to break things and kill people. That's how you win wars. It's probably why we haven't won many wars since World War II. In fact, we haven't won a single war since World War II. Oh, yes, brave men and women have fought and died, shed blood, and paid the ultimate sacrifice in these, whatever you want to call them, police actions, unauthorized wars, again, endless foreign wars, as Donald Trump has called them, be it Afghanistan, be it Vietnam, or the Korean police action, the Forgotten War, as it was known. But that's because our military has gone, they've gone a little bit south as well because of, number one, they've allowed the politicos to infect them with their thinking. There's too many generals there that are 2-star, 3 stars that want to be 4 and 5 stars that suck up to the politicians, to those on the defense committees, to the commander-in-chief, and they have to listen to the commander-in-chief. That's in the Constitution. But they're not willing to stand up and say, Mr. President, that's not a good idea. Mr. President, we shouldn't be doing that. Mr. President, we don't recommend that. Too many of them will just go along to get along, get their promotion, do their 20, and then live high on the hog. And that is, I think, a great disservice to our rank and file, our brave warriors. This criticism is not directed at you. It is directed at the brass, at the political staff and the elected officials, the globalists, the elite. And one of the problems we're having is all this wokeism. Remember, Trump had to come in and rebuild the military because it was largely gutted from 8 years of Obama. They were cannibalizing spare parts. We didn't have a Navy that could fight on 2 fronts. He did fix that for the most part, but now we have a separate problem. We have a recruitment problem. Why? Because we have all this multiculturalism and this wokeism, and when they lifted Don't Ask, Don't Tell, now we have openly gay and lesbian men and women. Again, some of them can serve. I'm not saying they can't, but now that once you do that, then the rest of that alphabet agenda, the plus in the alphabet mafia.
Oh, yeah.
LGBTQ
Yes.
plus. Well, you don't know how many pluses there are.
I know.
They're ad
hear ya.
infinitum. All right. And so you have all these pluses, and then you got to let every freak
Yep.
into the military. And speaking of which, this is a member of the United States Navy. His real name is Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly was into drag queen stuff before he enlisted, but of course he had to put the kibosh on it while the brass, frowned on this kind of behavior. But now, not only are they allowing this kind of behavior in our armed forces, they are encouraging it, and they're recruiting. They are recruiting this kind of mindset, these kinds of freaks into our military. God help us. Because, let me play it. Josh Kelly actually performs as a drag queen under the stage name of Harpy Daniels. Listen and watch, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I hear the train a-comin', it's rollin' around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine, I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
We see various pictures of Josh Kelly in uniform and also in drag costumes. In his camouflage. And then he transitions out of his navy whites into a halter top.
When I was just a baby, my mama told me.
And I want to remind you that Harpy Daniels, a.k.a. Josh Kelly, is now the main recruiter for the United States Navy. He's being called the Navy Digital Ambassador. Joe, your reaction as a person who has a son in the service?
Well, I can't see the recruitment going up, and
No.
I can't see that working at all.
No, in fact, I think it's going to have the
Not
opposite effect, and I think that's what's intended.
Bud Light.
I
man.
think it's intended.
Oh, yeah. This
through
is the brown shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones who go in will be the brown shirts
Right.
that will, fight against all of us.
I got a tweet here from Robert O'Neill. He's the guy that took out Osama bin Laden on one of our special operators. He tweets out, "All right, the U.S. Navy is now using an enlisted sailor drag queen as a recruiter. I'm done. China is going to destroy us.
Yeah.
You got this, Navy. I can't believe I fought for this. I'll clean it up. Bull crap." That's Robert O'Neill, one of our great special warriors of our day. So you saw it, you heard it. You really have to see it to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, this is what they think is going to get more recruits into the Navy and Marines. Again, it's disgusting.
It is.
And it's going to drive real family men and women and military out. They're going to say, "That's it, I'm done. I'm not going to," and I would imagine if this stuff starts, and it looks like it already has, they've fallen 8,000 short of their recruitment goal. It's going to be 28,000 short.
Can you?
And then we're going to be
imagine-
easy pickings. They're going to be easy pickings.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine the way that we're viewed by, first of all, our enemies with something like
Well, they
that
planned
going?
this. This is their indoctrination. They've planned it. They've planned it all along for years.
No,
In our
unfortunately, it's
schools.
working.
Yes.
And the Marxist madrasas known as our schools, where they're now, the CDC reports 1 in 4 or 25% of high school students do not identify as either straight or anything. They're
That's ridiculous.
unsure. And this grooming effort, this recruitment effort
Right.
in our schools is working. And there might have been a day when it was maybe 5%. It's up to 25%.
Well, it'll work until they come around and realize that they've been goaded into it.
Right.
And that's when it'll be
But then it'll be too late.
too late.
Well, it's never too late, and that's why I want to make sure we have an optimistic tone here,
Okay.
because
Oh, do
I
you?
like to provide solutions.
Okay.
There is one person that can resolve this issue,
Yes.
and he is currently running for president, and that is Donald Trump. And his numbers now are off the charts. They're just, he's going ballistic. He is burying the competition, including Ron DeSantis, anywhere from 35 to 40-point leads in every poll. Not just a poll here or there. In every poll I've seen. Let's listen to some of these poll numbers. And look, This is what we're talking about the Republican Party is now. This is the MAGA takeover within the GOP. And they're basically saying, we can deliver. We know that Trump can deliver a great outcome for us. In fact, he's the only one who ever has. He's the only one that's delivered and promises made, promises kept. There's no GOP alternative out there, including DeSantis, that can fight on a couple of key points. One, 94% of those polled love Trump's past performance as president. Been there, done it. We've seen it. We know he can do it again. 94% respond, he fights for people like me. 84% think he would beat Biden, and 82% loves how he deals with political opponents in the media. There's nobody else that meets those criteria. In fact, it's not even close. In fact, it's so bad for Nikki Haley and Mike Pence that Vivek Ramaswamy has overtaken them in the polls. That's how bad it is. Because you know what? Vivek is anti-woke.
Yes.
Okay? The rest of them are playing tiddlywinks with their campaigns. In the latest poll I saw, Trump expands his lead, and according to McLaughlin and Rasmussen, and even 538, which is a Democrat polling group, 538 has Trump beating Biden by 3 points right now, and winning the national popular vote, which he didn't win in 2016 or 2020. They've got him leading in that, and we're looking at an electoral landslide if, it's a big if, the election were held today. So that is a big if. Mm-hmm. But he's just got to keep that momentum up and just keep doing what he's doing. And I think the American people, look, the worse our economy suffers, again, border, language, culture, the longer our borders remain unsecure and open, the longer our language and our culture is under attack from the left, Donald Trump will be the prohibitive favorite. I'm convinced. Mm-hmm. And I think we're seeing it all over the country right now in these culture wars. All right, on to our cringe moment of the day. And this is, I don't know if you've been following the Hunter Biden case in Arkansas or not. I'll give you a
little bit, yes.
A quick update. Hunter had a night out with a stripper. He impregnated her. He had a 4-year-old daughter by the name of Navy Joan Roberts. Navy Joan Roberts, he was supporting with alimony. Navy Joan Roberts wanted the Biden name. London Roberts is the stripper's or the girl's name. And they fought against that because they argued, the Bidens did, that a Biden name would be a burden. Right. It's really held Joe back, hasn't it?
Right.
You know, and Hunter as well. But so he's down in Arkansas now. He wanted to reduce his child support payments. And now the judge, this blew up in his face. They've hired like an $800 an hour lawyer, Abby Lowell, out of Washington. And we're paying for this, by the way, the cavalcade or the motorcade of Secret Service agents having to go down there and protect him while he's in the courtroom. But the judge isn't buying it, but she's making him reveal all of his financial records, all of it.
Oh yeah, he was
including
saying
how
he
much
didn't
he
have
made
any
from his stupid blow art and the rest of that stuff. It's going to be fine. She might get more answers than the people in Congress do before all is said and done.
Yeah. He was saying he didn't have any money. He was like, "Oh, I don't have any money anymore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sleep on a cot overnight."
His laptop said, "Remember, he's got to give all his money to the big guy, which is Daddy, when Daddy's not showering with his daughter Ashley. Probably inappropriate. Her words, not mine." Mm-hmm. So anyway, the question came up at the White House the other day because the Bidens do not recognize Navy as their 7th grandchild. They have 7. They only recognize 6. Okay, they don't recognize the illegitimate grandchild, and it tells you the characters of the Biden family. I include Joe and Jill and Hunter. They're people without any conscience or character. If she runs around pretending she loves the military and all these other people, she's a fake, a phony, and a fraud. Because the right thing to do is you take care of this young girl. I had somebody tell me on the radio this morning, well, her mother was a stripper. She's probably not going to live a good life. I don't care what her mother did.
I thought
Biden not hold it against the daughter.
I thought Biden said all the children in the country are ours.
Yeah.
Except for that one, huh?
No such thing as somebody else's child, except now. Now, at Christmas time when they hang the stockings, 6 grandchildren, but not Navy Jones. So please don't get me started on his character. Anyway, the question came up yesterday at the White House.
I wanted to ask about the trial going on in Arkansas with Hunter Biden and the child support. Are the president and First Lady monitoring that? And how come they haven't acknowledged the seventh grandchild?
I'm not going to speak to that from here.
She's not going to speak to that from here.
Oh, who's going to believe that?
Yeah, that's because it's embarrassing. You notice they'll just normally it's like she'll read something, and you know that question was coming up. They had to be prepared for it. They just like swatted it like it was a pesky little fly. So that's the character of the Bidens leading our nation. Want us to believe they're all about the red states and the blue states, and he's a great uniter. He can't even unite his own freaking family. Time for the unhinged moment.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
You probably have heard Jean Carroll. She is the whack job that is claiming that Donald Trump allegedly raped her in a changing room, in a wardrobe closet at the Bergdorf Goodman in Manhattan, while asking her to try on or test out or recommend lingerie or some such nonsense. Okay? Number one, in interviews, she has referred to rape as sexy. There's anybody who's ever known a rape victim or has studied the rapist and the rape victim knows it's a crime of violence. It is not a sexual act. It is a crime of violence and dominion, power over another individual. But she calls it sexy. But lo and behold, we have discovered where Jean Carroll may have got her story from an episode of Law and Order.
Role play took place in the dressing room of Bergdorf's. While she was trying on lingerie, I would burst in.
Hold on. Man.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Let me tell you something, folks. You can't fix stupid.
You gotta be stupid.
Wow.
You have got to be stupid to think people weren't going to figure out where your story came from. Now, they've already tried to get the charges dismissed this week. Joe Tacopina, the president's lawyer, tried to get it dismissed because the judge was biased. It was probably the wrong tack to take, but I would see if I could get this evidence introduced as soon as I think closing arguments are due this week. So get this in. The woman ripped her stories right out of the television scripts of Law and Order to come after Donald Trump. It reminds me of a creepy porn lawyer and creepy porn actress, Stormy Daniels. Making up stuff, anything. They will fabricate anything to try to take Donald Trump out. And kudos to some folks are just really good at sleuthing this kind of stuff online. I am shocked.
I am too.
I had completely forgotten about that episode of Law and Order.
I have so many of them.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so that's going to about do it for us today. We want to make sure that if you have something you'd like to react to, that you'd like to comment or recommend, we love hearing from you. The Sean Casey Show at gmail.com. Our Pockets of Patriots today, DC is number 1. Philly has broken into the top 5, first time in a while. Annapolis, Maryland, the state capital, now number 10. First time they've been in the top 10. And Lewisburg, Kentucky is going up the charts. Thank you for downloading, subscribing, and sharing with friends, family, colleagues,
Thank you.
like-minded patriots. We appreciate that. Next episode will drop on Friday. Don't forget, we'll have our liberal lunatic of the week, patriot of the week, and, of course, our outrages of the week as well.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction.
Thanks again to our executive producer, Joe Hosny-Armacost.
You are very welcome. See you guys next time.
All right. And to our associate producer and researcher, Double X, Michelle.
You're welcome. See you Friday.
And to our other producers, Hunter and Logan Casey. And until Friday, make sure that you stay free